Not anything.
I was thinking as I was walking along there, and I couldn't find it. There's I'm neither flesh nor fowl. I don't know what I am.
Not anything, yeah. Nobody is. You're not anything. Nobody
No.
is anything.
No,
It's amazing.
Yeah, but I think sometimes as you kind of maybe listen to this thing more, you kind of get locked out of your groove or something. It's very unsettling.
It can be, yeah. Depending, like it's the how it's heard and how the interaction with it is completely different for everyone.
But
it can be very unsettling.
Yeah.
It can be not at all unsettling. It can be, so you get everything, every kind of a possible reaction. Yeah.
Do you ever experience anxiety?
Anxiety.
No, I'd say
No, I mean, I wouldn't say that any. Some people have the perception is that when there's no me, then everything is just great and you wouldn't get stressed or anything. That's bullshit. Like it's just that it's the same as before, except that whatever is arising isn't arising for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So if anxiety arose, it wouldn't be anyone's anxiety, and therefore, when the me is there, when there's anxiety, it's my anxiety. I'm experiencing the anxiety and I'm interacting with it, and then there's this stickiness to it, and it's a whole other energy, and it seems to go on, and then I have to do something about the anxiety and So whatever happens, like what is perceived as bad thing or uncomfortable things would happen just as much as if there was somebody there, but the difference is there's nobody there. It's not talking to anyone, and there's nobody there to claim it, so it just arises and falls away again. So anything, anxiety, fear, confusion, anything like this perception that it's none of these, it's kind of what the individual, it's the game the individual plays, you see. It's this sense of this dualism of pulling in pleasure and pain and rejecting discomfort and anything negative. So there tends to be, when something is suggested like this, that individual kind of tends to think of it as, well, it's all the good stuff you've got there now, and none of them bad things happen to you, which is totally wrong, because the apparent bad things, uncomfortable things, are it as much as anything that is good. Obviously, that's when the duality falls apart. When the me falls apart, there's an in-loveness with what is, and even though that what is might be very uncomfortable, and then there's still
suffering. Would you say?
Well, no. From this perspective, suffering is the me that suffers. It's,
right. Yeah.
There's no body suffering. No, but there could be pain. There could be extreme pain, or there could be whatever. Whatever example you want to show, but anything can happen. Same as when there's a person, but it's not happening for anyone. That's the difference. Like shitty things apparently continue to happen, but there's an in-loveness with what appears to be. So then that's what appears to be happening.
So then would things like happen, like they rise and fall faster simply?
Yeah, when you see nothing's happening, that's the other. Like nothing. There's only what appears to be. There's only this, and there's nothing actually happening. But so it's not even rising and falling away. Really, everything just is and isn't.
Right.
It's not even rising and falling. Like it's not even like a thought arises and then it doesn't stick and then it goes again. It doesn't even come and go. Nothing comes and goes even. It's just that there is only what appears to happen. So there's no like preferences for the characters still arise. You know, for this movie over that movie, or this food over that food, or blah blah blah. But that's just in the character. But then there's just, that's as close as I can come, just an in-loveness with what appears to be. And it's the individual really who's playing that dance between constantly what they're trying to do really is comfort themselves for the loss of everything. The apparent loss of everything. And this sense of you being this little me is to fill out this sense of me. You know, if it's a prison cell, you might as well make that prison cell as comfortable as possible, or fill out the bubble as much as you can. So there's comfort, comforting, all that comforting, and pushing away of discomfort. Yeah, like I mean, and that's what we were saying earlier. It's kind of quite a popular thing now. Would be life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. So keep pushing your comfort zone, and you'll feel more alive. And people do appear to feel more alive. But actually, what they're really looking for is that just there is no zone of me and there is no me. That's what, and then that can't be seen though.
But it does sometimes happen to runners, doesn't it? Or people like that.
Yeah, I mean, no, there's an energy to doing all of that.
No,
but it's like runners are whatever. Say you want to run 100 miles, so that's 160 kilometers. I think part of that is that there's zones where there's just running and there's maybe extreme pain and there's maybe no sense of me in there, and then maybe that's addictive. That's addictive then to the person. But then that's just what appears to be happening. You know, people then label it as, oh, they're searching and they're it's crazy what they're doing. It's just, I don't know, there's a draw to it, and that's what appears to happen.
I have a sister who's a runner, and I know she has those. She just loves it.
Yeah, there's I know some of them bigger, longer runs that people actually start hallucinating, and so I guess they're looking for another experience, the same as someone who would take ayahuasca or do something. It's an experience, and it's different to the normal experience and whatever, you know.
Because we think it's better.
Yeah. So and a lot of them extreme sports are, if you're going to base jump, so you climb up and jump off something, there's pretty much no room for me there, you know. And that's what makes it very addictive. Like, it's just so immediately. See, this is what we're suggesting. The immediacy is, there's an immediacy. Everything is just immediately just this. And then there's certain activities that appear to come close to that when the me can kind of not be there. And then the problem with that then is that there'll be an addiction to that. They'll keep going back to try and get that. There's no recognition that they would feel that they're doing that, but from this perspective, it's that's what that's about, really.
They want to get high.
Yeah. Or things like, you know, everyone's talking about Free Solo, the documentary where he climbs up the face of the El Capitan. It's interesting, but he does it without a rope. So there's a few people who climb things without ropes, and they talk about this sense of there being no time, because there's such a focus on if they miss that handhold, they're dead. So there can't be. They're just so. And that's so addictive for them. Then is that there doesn't seem to be time, or even. And I would say it's not that there's just probably no me almost in that. And that's why they're drawn back to that then again.
Well, the other side of that be, say, somebody then who loves knitting. You know the way some women would be say they love their knitting and they kind of lose themselves.
Yeah, stitch and bitch your way to
I don't knit.
enlightenment.
That's a book.
No, it's almost like it's a meditative thing. Or like I said before, if you're out and you're painting and you realise you painted the whole wall and you were aware that was kind of content of thought going by, but you weren't really engaged in it.
Whatever the activity is, it doesn't matter. But I mean, there are just preferences for the character as well. You know, there's nothing. The character just might enjoy certain things and appear to get lost in some of them, or not. It doesn't really matter. But yeah.
But is that just the awareness? But is that just
no? But I mean, it might it might. There may be that there could be knitting, and there could be a sense of just no time and just lost in the activity. But then. There's nobody. The difficulty with that then would be that there's no way an individual can do more of that to be less of themselves. Because that's the catch with it. So. And then that would just be another path to where, you know.
Right.
There's no path to get here. How can there be a path to get here? There's no way of getting to where you already are. So once you're feeling on a path towards this, then It's just a rejection of what is really.
But it can appear to be a path. Like people.
It appears to be a path, yeah.
Like there are lots of people would have woken up and they would have had a path.
Nobody's ever woken up, but yeah. We're back to this all.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, in the story, people have woken up, and they have woken up because they've done Vipassana meditation or this, that, and that's all very logical and makes sense. And that's why that message is very popular. Makes total sense. I mean, I was doing this, like usually the stories can be of one of utter despair and desolation, and I was doing drugs and my life was a wreck, or I was working 110 hours a week, and I was this and that, and then everything fell apart, and I did this meditation, and boom, I've been there ever since. And the individual loves that. It's like, oh my God, this person has seen something, and I want to get what they saw. So then it's very seductive, and then that whole energy of teacher-student just kicks in. There's no teacher or student. This is not a teaching at all. It's just a sharing. There's nobody knows anything. But from this perspective, anytime that's set up, it's very obviously artificial, and it's just there's an apparent energy to it that the so-called student thinks that the so-called teacher knows something they don't know. So there's an energy, a feedback system of energy. So this loop is created. Apparently, it's not even happening. And then and if someone is drawn to that, or someone's story was that story of I did this meditation, and then everything, I'm there now, and if they energetically that resonates with the parent individual, then they'll be all about that. For the other person, it'll be, well, that's a load of nonsense, and then that's the way it is, and there's nothing wrong or right with any of it. So that's the way that there is. I mean, there's just there's many stories of that as there is people in the world. I mean, there's that many ways to feed the apparent individual, and and I mean the person does what they feel they need to do. Of course, that's intelligent, and like there's no judgment here on someone going out and trying to live at the edge of their comfort zone and running 100-mile races or doing that's what appears to be happening. And if that seems to be working for you, I mean, that's this communication. There's no expectation or judgment, and it's that if that's work, well then, But this suggestion is being made, and it's heard as it's heard, then. And it may resonate. It'll resonate or not resonate. Like, I mean, it could be like from the very beginning of this was very obvious that people could appear to come to this and go away feeling more of an individual. Very likely to happen. No, there's no, and that's what appears to be happening then.
Yeah.
If this was an agenda-led meeting, then it would be a total different energy to it, because it would be recognising that there's someone here that needs to get somewhere. There's nobody here. Small little group that appears to be, because Kenneth didn't send out the email telling anyone about it. Apparently, there's nothing. Nothing is any significance or matters.
It's just that while you are the character, it all seems so real.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely real. The individual lives in absolutes. I am absolutely real, and I am in the world. I do have a job. That is absolutely my car. That is my house. I work Monday to Thursday. What are you talking about? That this is only an appearance. It's absolute to the person. Because the person, when that has that when there's that contracted sense of energy of this false center, then from that false center, it's a subject-object world. Then you're the subject, the person is the subject, and everything is an object. Your job, your car, your son, your blah blah, everything, experiences, even their object, and then it gathers in these, and it can't. The actual way life is can't be seen, because it's from that false center of a subject, and that false center appears to fall away, then it's seen that there is no objects actually, and the absolute realness of everything just collapses. It just collapses.
But
So this can only be suggested, and that absolute realness to the person either gets more reinforced by rejecting this, or it can crumble when it comes up against this. Like when this is being communicated from nothing, it's the individual doesn't get fed. The individual's always looking to get fed, always, constantly. So when it's not getting fed here, it's constantly coming up against this, then that the appearance it will appear to play out as it plays out. Either reinforces the individual, apparently, or that the whole gig can start to crumble. And it can be quite obvious then that there never was a me.
What's the crumbling look like?
It doesn't look like anything because it's only an apparently thing. It's still only apparently happening. So there is no real. This is the difficulty with this. There is no actual individual. So the paradox of even speaking about this is once you start to speak about it, it sounds like you're talking about a real individual who really falls away, and then there's something blah blah blah. But the whole time it's being communicated, that's why the word apparent is used very, 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 very frequently, almost every sentence, because it's like the apparent. There is no individual. So like there's people apparently engaged with this communication for years, and they'd say, I get it, but I still feel I'm still waiting to not be there.
But that's the
But I mean that's another story. Well, you're waiting to not be there because you're never going to follow. I still haven't fallen away. Well, you're not going to fall away.
No.
Because if you were going to fall away, it would mean you're real to begin with. You're not there.
You'll never get it.
No, there's no getting it, and nobody gets it. No, and nobody who communicates it gets it either. And that's the one thing. Once there's nobody communicating it, but when it is communicated, it's quite obvious. It can't be communicated without it being perceived as a carrot. And then you know something I don't. You have something I don't. Be that in a negative, or you're full of shit or whatever. But it's still, no matter how it is, it still cannot be perceived, but from that personal vantage point of the person, because that's what's being perceived through, and that's just the way it is. But it's not communicated to a person. That's the difference, because there is no people here. There's just energy. That's all there is. And in that energy, then it says, "Oh, me. What about me?" And there seems to be a question out of nothing. And then here there seems to be an answer out of nothing. And all of it is completely fucking meaningless. Beautifully meaningless and pointless. Because everything just apparently is. There's no meaning or significance to anything.
So could you say kind of that this is before me comes and grabs whatever the thing is. Do you know what I mean? This is so immediate.
Yeah, you see, it's always immediate.
Yeah.
And this life, just as it is new. It's always new. It's just immediately just this. There's no past or present or now or future or anything. There's just, everything is and isn't. It's unknowable. It's just boundless aliveness. And in that boundless aliveness appears the bound. Because it's totally boundless, it can also appear to be bound. The bound individual who is experiences itself as apart from that. And there's a filter then that's going on, that I can hear the crow crowing. I can feel the seat under my bum. Me, all the time, me. It's a filter. It's a filter that filters everything. The filter isn't real. It's taken to be absolutely real. It's only an appearance.
But it comes, the filter is later than.
Yeah, it's an addition. It's an addition. I'm trying to think of I can't remember the guy's names. The German scientists did the experiment where they showed that there's only there's no choice whatsoever. There's the choice appears to be made, and then I think it was like point something of a second up to about 7 seconds later. There's an addition. Yeah, it can be as much as that. Yeah, there's an addition of a me to it. So they're showing that you've never made a choice. And when I saw the documentary, I think it was Channel 4. It could have been BBC.
What's the name of the...
It was about free will. It was on BBC. I think it was BBC.
Yeah.
And he came
Probably
out.
on the internet, is it?
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but he came out and he had to sit on the steps. He had to sit down because he said, they've just showed me I've never made a choice in my whole life. And he was totally bamboozled. Flummoxed. He didn't know, he couldn't, it was lovely. He just didn't know what to say even. He was like, I've just been shown that I've never made a choice my whole entire life.
Yeah.
And all I've been told my whole life is that I'm constantly making choices and that everything I do happens in my life is as a result of the choices I make. And they've just showed me I've never made a choice. He was like, he didn't know what to do, and he actually sat down. That's my memory, the memory here of it is he actually sat down. He was total shock.
Yeah.
He said, what the fuck am I going to do with that?
You see, the world couldn't operate with that.
No, the world doesn't operate anyway.
No.
It just appears to operate, but for the person,
Yeah.
this is totally nonsense, what's
Yeah.
been suggested here. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, how do you mean there's no free will?
Yeah.
That's
You
just...
could end up in the...
Even though it's quite commonly known there's no free will now, I would say. You could open any magazine
it's more-
or any paper and you could see an article now that there's no free will. It's an intellectual knowing, yeah. Sam Harris has a nice book about free will, and he tells you there's no free will, and then he tells you what to do about that.
Yes. Yes.
And he's such an intellect. His intellect is astounding. He's beautiful, loquacious speaker. It's just stunning.
Yeah.
But then it's all about the individual, you know. It's just
probably
amazing.
the same scientist, the German man you were talking about, he's probably, you know, even though he's...
Oh yeah, science is in the world of the dream of the individual.
Yeah.
Science is discovering all sorts of stuff, but they don't know what to do with it. So
Yeah.
they're still looking through the lens of individualism and measurement, obviously. Like they want to... there's eternity and they want to measure eternity. So that kind of is a synopsis of science. Yeah, they're measuring nothing. Actually, I heard Tony Parsons talks a lot about that recently. He was talking about these experiments about nothing. Yeah,
it's funny.
well, yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, we have to know. We appear to live in this world. We have to know everything. We have to, because that's the energy of being a person, is knowing, understanding, and this amazing arrogance to it's amazing.
Yeah. As much as you hear, you know, that you'll never get it, and that there is no path, there is no gradual whatever. I mean, when I won't say in reality, this is, you know, reality, but my story.
Yeah.
I feel since I started listening to Tony Parsons maybe 6 years ago. I don't know, how can I say this where I'm not going to be blown out of the water. I feel that, I mean, I was a bit distressed today when I couldn't find the whatever here, place. But really, in the end, it didn't bother me.
No, it's
really in a
completely
deep way.
insignificant.
Yeah, what I mean is like my things seem to have changed. Appears to have changed a little in that I don't take anything very seriously.
Yeah, there can be
but that's only a story. You know.
Yeah, but when this communication is heard, that kind of tight perception of things being real can kind of dissipate, and there can be an easiness and a sense of boundlessness to everything, even if the individual appears to keep going. There can be a kind of almost a release, which is not an objective of anything, but can be, it appears to be. Like if a parent individual believes very strongly in Jesus and heaven and all of this Catholic lovely stuff, that they have to be very good and to get to this place and all of that, and if the release from that can be quite amazing actually, because they've appeared to live their life with this very rigid paradigm through which, and so the release from that can bring relief to an apparent individual.
Absolutely.
But that's not an
Yeah.
objective of the
No.
communication,
No. It's
but
just-
because the communication has no objective, and it's just what appears to be happening.
Yeah.
And it literally just plays out as it plays out, and
Yeah.
there's no. You see, this is the big thing when someone appears to totally there just is no more of them. What's incommunicable is that there's no difference between when they were there
that's
before.
The tough one.
But this problem is when you're talking about it, then someone keeps saying, "Well, I still feel like I'm here, and I wish I was where you are, where there's nobody."
Yeah.
Well, where am I? I mean, it's impossible. It's totally impossible. As if they've got something you don't have, which is total nonsense. And even saying that, well, it's a loss and I don't have anything anymore, they turn into that, well, I wish I had nothing. I wish I had nothing too. So yeah, I mean, it's an amazing communication. I was astounded by it whenever. Yeah, it doesn't matter when you could say X amount of years ago or whatever, but it was obviously nobody's community. It's nothing to do with, people say Tony Parsons. There is no Tony Parsons. It's nothing to do with anybody. It's nobody's communication. Yeah. And it's totally impersonal. It's so amazingly, stunningly impersonal and agendaless and meaningless. And
no special.
No, it's not. It blows special and non-special out of the water. It's I'm as blown away by it as when I first heard it. It's not to do with anybody.
That thing you were saying about the scientific evidence where you're not making a choice, that can be very helpful, because it means then I'm going to try and find that actually and look at it, because it kind of releases a lot of guilt in the sense of you see that and you think, well if what's happening is happening, and so it doesn't matter what's happening. It'll just happen anyway, so I can almost relax, because whatever's going to happen is going to appear to happen, because I'm not actually doing it anyway. No. I just step in afterwards and think, I'm going to make that choice. But if it just kind of means you can maybe relax a little bit, because take the pressure off.
You're going to kick back now. You're going to kick back and put the feet up now.
I'm not responsible. I'm not the doer.
Nothing to do with me, guys.
I remember, I think it was Tony Parsons answering some question exactly like that about, some guy saying to his girlfriend, well, I'm not here, I mean, that's just, using it like to... it's just whatever, that's what appears to be happening. Yeah. And if that's what's happening, then that's what appears to be happening.
To my mind, in some ways, it's loosening the bounds of the individual. Because if I think I'm making all these choices, and then I can watch this movie or whatever and see it's scientifically proven, then I have to register that.
Yeah, but the thing about this as well is that, that's a kind of little bit misleading as well, that it's scientifically proven, because it's the individual who lives in the stories of proof and true and not true and reality. And I remember when the character here first came across this, it was like, okay, this is amazing, now I have to verify that this is true. So there's this small period of apparent time of trying to verify that what was being suggested here is true, and I'm not just losing my fucking mind here. And then that couldn't be done, because I couldn't find any verification of it anywhere. And then it was seen that nothing needs to be verified as being true, because being true or not true is in the dream of being the person, because we want things to be factual or not factual, true or not true, and we want to verify. It's tied in with there's been a higher authority as well. When there's a sense of separation, there's an authority, appears to be, because there's little old me then, so there must be something bigger than me. So this sense of authority, this bigger than me authority, which will verify us that yes, you're correct, there is no choice, and you're on the right track, and that's the energy of being a me. Yeah. But when that falls apart, no verification is needed of anything, and it's actually, this is totally illogical, boundless, nonsensical, all of that madness. It doesn't have to be. It's a shift out of that linear logical, right, correct perception. That's all in for the person.
Yeah.
You constantly want verification. Actually, the way we're living, that how we are living is right.
You must have much more energy.
Who?
You.
Oh no, there's no.
No, I just
there is an energy. I see what you're saying, but there's nobody with more energy.
But what I mean is the body must have.
It's a more free. It's just there's a freeness to it. That's,
because there's so
but not
much
for anybody.
tightness in having all these facts and.
But even like the neurosis, I used to think that the neurosis, when the me appears to fall away, all of the neurosis fall away. I used to kind of talk about it there, but then I don't really, like the neurosis actually, the center of the neurosis, the apparent center of it kind of falls away. So there can still be neurosis, but because there's nobody listening to it anymore, it really doesn't matter anymore. So there is, but the sense of neurosis that's with the individual is huge of all of this blah 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 stuff, and then when there's nobody listening to it anymore, it's kind of game over. But it doesn't mean that all neurosis, like thought patterns, could still and do still appear to happen. But there's an indescribable difference between somebody listening to a thought pattern and speaking and interacting with it, and just a thought, an apparent pattern coming up. And paradoxically, it's exactly the same as well. This is the paradox of what's being. It's like it's like what you're looking for is paradoxically exactly just as it is. All right, this is just this. It's just this already. It's with no matter how fucked up and neurotic you feel, it is that feeling of being fucked up and neurotic.
I'm still waiting.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's quite a common thing to hear at meetings. Well, I'm still waiting, and I'm still waiting. Well, that's a nice story. You're saying. I mean, who's waiting? I mean, who's going to fall? Who's waiting for what? Like,
I don't know.
You know.
I mean,
that's just what appears to happen. Then that's that's what's appearing to happen there. Then fair enough.
Isn't it true to say that we're not waiting? We're the case now.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
But that's like like a little magical story, unless it's.
No, I'm not even asserting it, but I'm just saying. That
there is no way. Like, who's waiting? Waiting for what? For the individual to follow. For the individual to fall away, but there is no individual. So who's going to even fall away? Do you know? So that's the. I mean, who's going? There is no. This is it. This. So if there's a sense of being separate, that's what appears to happen, and that's also that it is everything that is.
Somewhere something just is blocked when you say that. I mean, I just
But yet something falls away.
Apparently falls away. Yeah, it's an appearance. That's the thing. It's an energy. It's indescribable. This is totally indescribable. If it fell away here, and it was seen, apparently fell away, you would be, or that character there would be saying to this character here, going, "Oh my God, it's so simple, it's so obvious, and it's always been this." And I can't explain it to you, Kenneth. I can't explain it to you what you were trying to explain, but yet I totally see what you're saying. That's how. That's the way it is. It's not describable, but yet it's not that it's not describable by being amazing and just mind-blowingly complicated and esoteric. It's not describable because it's just immediately, just openly this. It's just it's as Tony would say, the open secret, or the open secret has been used quite a lot. It's the open secret. It's just already just this, like it's appearing to hide by being already everything. But the individual is continually rejecting what appears to be in favour of what might be. And that's the whole energy of moving towards something, which is so exhausting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But I mean, I was saying there, it is the apparent, the sense of individualism. But I mean, there are communications that say, "Oh, it's okay, everything is oneness." So you just feel like an individual. That's it too. mean, that's a load of nonsense too, because I mean, if there's a sense of being separate, that's what appears to be happening, and it's not fucking nice. And is it looking to get out of it? Do you know what I mean? So, you know.
I think me, you see, wants to understand it and wants to know what it is.
Totally, yeah, that's the whole thing. It's like, I want to know this, I want to get where you are, I want to integrate this into what I already know, blah blah blah. It keeps going on, but the loop of the individual is in a loop of its own knowing. That's what it is. It just goes, it's a closed loop of knowing,
And it's relentless.
and everything is knowable. So that's why anything the apparent individual comes across in life is dealt with in a way of you're either advantageous to me or you're dangerous to me. And that's a very quick evaluation that's made. And when someone meets someone for the first time, you'd often see it in the eyes. You'd see this tenseness around the eyes, and what they're doing is it's all non-verbal, and it's all very, 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 very quick. And they've evaluated very quickly. You're worth talking to. You're not dangerous to me, and it's okay, and this can continue. It's not even before any thought. And you know, if you're in some place like, Ireland's probably not too far behind, but America, where you would actually learn how to network formally. So you're networking, so you're evaluating very quickly. Okay, what do you work at? Some of the questions are very probing. What area do you work in? And it's all about.
So then you're
can you get me something? Can I you? And it's quite nice. It's just so openly, blatantly networking. It's fine. Yeah, we're networking like.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's why Irish can appear to do well in America, because we don't network in an obvious way, or appear to have an agenda, and it's kind of a little bit alien to us. Yeah. It's the fact that you will have a conversation and try and get to know very quickly what that person does for a living to see can you get something from them or whatever. But I mean, that's the individual. That's what we're all doing basically.
Speaking of the loop of knowingness, what are people like Ramana Maharshi? What are they doing talking about the self, and also what is the Buddha talking about the no self?
See, all of them are just characters in the story to me. There was no Ramana, there was no Buddha, there was no Jesus Christ, there was no anybody. You know, so anything that comes out, people treat them as real people who said real things that have real meaning. Whereas to me, there's just communications. That's all there is. One feeds the individual, and one points towards, very obviously points that this is it. The one that points towards this is it can be found all over the place, but it's layered up upon by prescriptive messages on top of it. So Buddhism has loads of pointings that this is it, there is no parent self, and then on top of that it'll tell you how to realise you're not there. So you could pick any of them. A lot of them are the same. You know, if the heart of Christianity, some of the stuff that was said in the Gnostic Gospels or the Gospel of St. Thomas, you know, turn over a stone, I'm under it, I am all that is, you know, all of this stuff. But there, from this perception, there was no person called Jesus Christ. It's all a story. Just as there's no people in this room, that's a story. There's no separate individual anywhere. There's just aliveness or energy.
But
then communications are, the clear communication is there, but it's overlaid by a prescription, because the individual gets a hold of it and says, you know, oh, this is what's been suggested here, and this is how you can do this, or you can get there. And then it's become, energetically, it's totally different then.
But that's what I was actually referring to, because when you refer to the Gospel of Thomas and I am overturn a rock and I am there, that seems a bit more like the self. The self is all pervasive.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these communications are lovely communications that say, quite clearly point that there's no individual.
Is that the same thing as the self is all pervasive?
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, if you're going to get into the syntax of different things, I mean, a lot of that stuff is not clear as well. So there is, from this perspective, there just simply is no self. So the self is all pervasive. That wouldn't be said here, for instance. So
Well,
I mean, and
all
none
it
of that
is-
none of that matters. It's like when when the apparent me apparently falls away, everything is lost. So there's no holding on to Buddhism or any sort of, all of that is lost. It's all seen to be a total story, everything. So there's no attachment to any of that kind of.
So nothing is known.
Nothing is known. No, it's living in the unknowing. It's unknowing. Life is it's living in immediacy of just this, but there's nobody living in it. There's nobody there living in it. It's just that there is just life. That's it. You know, a hum, a thought, a hum of a sound, a sensation. Oh, gotta get pizza. Are we getting pizza tonight? Or are we getting a takeaway? They're thoughts, you see. But then the person feels that I'm thinking, oh, will I get a pizza or will I get a takeaway? And that not only that I had the thought, but then I have to decide whether I'm getting the pizza, and it's me that's getting the pizza or getting the takeaway. And this whole contracted sense of heavy me that's just
Decision
taken for granted and never questioned. When this was seen first, there was no real interest in anything remotely spiritual, really. Like, very fleetingly read a few things about different, wouldn't have been familiar with the language at all, no interest, but just happened to stumble into it, let's say. And then at the time, the character Kenneth was journaling, so when it was seen, there was just this. One of the first sentences that was written was, "It feels as though a veil has been lifted."
Imagine.
And that's as close. I remember very clearly writing that, because the veil felt like a very good way of describing it, because if you think about a veil, I was looking at the same thing, the exact same thing. It hadn't changed in any way at all, and it was always what I was looking at. But there was like a veil had been come up, and the veil really was the me. It was this apparent Kenneth that was, everything was being seen through. So when that was lifted, everything just was then. There just was whatever appeared to be. But of course that veil always comes back, or seems to always come back.
Well, it didn't in your case.
It did, of course. The sense of Kenneth came back, of course it did. Nearly always, not nearly. It appears that there's a glimpse and there's a sense of just, there's everything, and it appears the individual seems to come back. It's very common. It doesn't have to, it can be just that's it.
So
But
it goes
it's-
off
it-
and on for a while until it's...
Yeah, for a while there's a
Yeah.
sense of being a person back, and usually, like, that would be the sense of, like, what the hell happened there? What was that about? And so if I was a devout Catholic, it would be the Holy Spirit had descended on me. Woohoo!
Yeah.
And then I'd be looking for the Holy Spirit to come again,
Yeah.
and making myself open for the Holy Spirit to come on me again. And do you know what I mean? I mean, you could pick any example. If I was a Buddhist, it would be a Satori and blah blah blah. And then that's when the logical brain gets a hold of it, and it appears that what went before has somehow made this thing happen, which is logical, you see, but it's nothing to do, because there is no before, and nothing the individual appears to do can bring about what already is. And this is the frustrating thing for the mind. Then it's just oh my god.
But it seemed to be winking on and off a bit in your case.
Well, the energy of being Kenneth just was seen to play, but it was never. It's never the same, because it can never be the same, because it's been this darkened room of the person has been exploded with light. The person seems to come back, but it can never be the same. And then there's a yearning to see what the fuck is that about, because it's so undeniable. It's so undeniable. It's so unquestionable. It's not. It's like the sky is blue. It's not. It's beyond an experience that you would have even. It's just so remarkable that then this character can totally understand how people can sell their house and go live in a ashram in India, because it's just, there's nothing else can compare, and that searching can get so intense. But for here,
Or to get it back.
yeah, to get it back, to own it, to integrate it, to have it in, to me, to be in that state. That's the whole. That's the logical mind. I want that back. But the whole thing was, it's not about you having anything back. It's that there is no you. So it's not about a gain. It's about a loss. That's the paradox of it. It's you. It's that you appeared to fall away, but it's only an appearance. You weren't really there.
Right.
And then that's when that can be seen. And then the whole gig can be over. But it will also just play out as it plays out. There could be this sense of being a me could just play out till the actual physically body dies or whatever. Or it could be that person feels, as we spoke about, that there's the person who teaches something. They are someone who was plodding along, had a moment of awakening and feels that, well, I was doing this, and are sincerely telling people, well, I did meditation, and if you do meditation, you can be in the state that I'm in. Most of them are actually sincere in what they're doing, because they have felt, they've experienced this. From this perception is that there was a sense of me fell away, then they came back, and they're now interpreting it as that they did something and got something. And then that's so seductive to people, because they can go along and then they can...
But I don't know if you can... Well, you see, if the me comes back and they
appears to come back,
and they teach, I mean, they're still a person.
Yeah, they feel like a person, and they feel like they're speaking to other people.
Yeah.
That's how the energy of it plays out then.
Yeah.
But that's just what appears to happen then.
Yeah.
That's nothing right. There's nothing right or wrong with it,
No,
obviously.
that's true. I remember I was in a Vipassana course, and this was a story. And I remember going out for a walk, in the walking area, and I was thinking, this is what it feels like, the peace that passeth all understanding.
Yeah,
so
and there could be immense peace, there could be immense peace.
Absolutely.
There could be any kind of experience, right?
But it was an experience.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
There can be very expansive experiences. I mean, if you go run 100 miles, I guarantee you it'll throw up some pretty interesting experiences.
Really?
Well, it would. I haven't run 100 miles, but what I'm just trying to randomly think of something, that there's infinite experiences that can seem very expansive and very amazing, but what's being suggested here has nothing to do with any of them.
Yes.
It's not an experience. But that will just be something that the individual appears to have, and then there could be then, if it's particularly pleasant one, then a yearning for something like that, or to make that permanent. But there's nothing permanent, because this is not permanent. This just is and isn't. There's no permanent. There's no.
But senses and feelings still happen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's the exact same.
Yeah.
It's the very same.
But there's no
they're not happening
knowing
for
their
anyone.
senses or feelings.
No, there's just senses. So if you say smells happen, hearing happens. Thoughts happen, emotions happen, touch happens, all of these things happen, but they're not happening for anyone.
Yeah.
But they're never happening for anyone. Yeah. From this perception. Yeah. But there is a really contracted sense that they are for the individual. Yeah. Like the individual is just unquestionably absolute for that individual. Yeah. There's no agenda here to convince otherwise, because there's no individual from this perception. Yeah. See, that's the difference. Yeah. And that is the energy of the communication. It's totally boundless and agendaless. Yeah. And that's, people can pick up on that very quickly, because we live on a world of agendas all over the shop. Oh yeah. Absolutely. And people can see that it can feel very powerful to apparently sit in a room where there's the dominant perception or the communication is that you are already complete. It can be absolutely amazing, and that nothing is expected, nothing at all, in any way, shape or form.
That.
So but again, it is what it is for that apparent person. It could be absolute torture.
I think I've done enough torture in my life. I don't want any more. No, that's a joke. I don't really mean that.
What about, sometimes people talk about beingness? What do you think of the word beingness?
I don't really know. I wouldn't. Beingness. It depends what context it's used in. Again, all of these words are used in someone being or beingness or some state that somebody enters. All of this, so it's just more like most of what's communicated is just feeding the individual. Yeah, it's that simple. It's that like, and sometimes people say, oh, "What about John Bloggs?" And John Bloggs is great, and he's such a lovely character. And I'm like, well, what the has got to do with anything? I know he could be the sweetest sweetheart you've ever met in your life. He's still speaking to an individual. This is totally impersonal. It's totally, completely impersonal. There's nothing to do with someone being a really nice person or not a nice person.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean that.
So,
it's impersonal, but what is? What's left then? What's left over? It's what is impersonal, and the impersonal is beingness, or the no self, or the self.
No, just what is indescribable. What's is just totally indescribable. Then it can't be described by anybody. Like nobody could describe. If we were to call it liberation, nobody could describe a liberation because there's nobody there. It's just totally indescribable. In the same way as nobody could describe this room here.
Yeah, not really. Yeah.
Not really.
Exactly.
You could ring up a friend and say, Saturday afternoon, okay, let me break it down to you. Galway, let's set the scene. Describe the home of the light. Describe the crow that crowed. You could be talking for 2 years. You're not going to describe this.
Mere representation.
Exactly.
Not even a
Shadow play.
Yeah.
That's in that
not the
same
actual.
exactly in that same way. It can't be described because it's just so immediately just this. It's so ridiculously ordinary. It's ludicrous how ordinary it is, and that's why people talk about the extraordinary, ordinary, or the.
It seems very focused on the now as well, like what you're going to talk about.
Well, there's not even a now though, you see.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because there's nothing to hold on to. Now it does infer a then.
Right.
You see, that's the thing.
But there seems to be more now than later at all. There's no time at all for later. Am I right? Any time at all for later. Whatever there is, it's minimally now.
I don't do later. I do a little bit of now, but I don't do later. No, there's just no time. There's the appearance of time. Time is a clock ticking. There's no independent thing called time.
Well, there's isness.
There's still a character who can show up at 10 to 4 to open the building, to have the apparent meeting. See, all of these functions still function, but there's very obvious that there's no time, or that time is an appearance. You could put it that way.
Well, what about this isness then?
It's again totally indescribable. The isness is not an object or a thing. It is all that is. Energy, boundlessness, whatever word. Words are just words. No words can say it. It's just unconditional love. Even unconditional love is a totally inadequate term, because the person thinks of love, interpersonal love, and blah blah blah. But that can be used sometimes. It doesn't want anything. It doesn't need anything. It doesn't. It just this. It's just. And it's just when that's seen, it's just very obvious that everything that plays out, the content of what appears to be happening, is no longer important, because it's all seen to be a play of light. And that's the freedom then. It doesn't matter if
sort of
A happens or B happens, or it doesn't matter what feeling arises, because it's just all energy. Whereas for the person, it very much A better happen and B better not fucking happen. Because if it does happen, I'm going to blah blah, and then the story goes on, and and this is the heaviness of feeling like an individual.
So it's illusory then.
It's illusory. You could say the individual is illusory. You could say.
Well, the out there, or the what is that's illusory too.
Everything again from the perception when there's nobody there, it's totally indescribable. It's not anything. You can't even say it's illusory. It's just there is only what appears to be. You could say. But no words are adequate for it, and it's totally ordinary as well. I mean, if it was sensed here, it would be no ability there to describe it back here, but it would be like the Zen finger pointing at the moon in the words, in that sense of the words are pointing towards it, but not in the sense that it's very terribly complex or difficult to understand. It's that it's not understandable, it's not gettable, it's not knowable, and it does not need to be any of those things, that it's just so immediately just this. and it's stunning. Life is stunning, as opposed to the kind of second-handy kind of dull sense of an individual who's knows and who's constantly looking for excitement here or there, or something better than something else, or something special as opposed to not special, and blah 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 blah. It goes on and on and on. But it's a very, very unsatisfactory perception, and there is a huge yearning in it. Whether it's a whatever that yearning can also be very subtle. It can be someone who's not, it can be very not very pronounced. It could be, tipping away, or else it could be just like, as we said, someone sell all my worldly belongings and move to an ashram in India, and I'm every second of my breathing life on this earth is to find this thing that I'm looking for. Do you know what I mean? I'm giving two examples of how, and that's just the play of it. It plays out as it plays out. But there's nobody. Once there's a sense of being an individual, there's nobody who's not searching for, even if they don't know they're searching. They're looking for wholeness. There's no real recognition. Yeah, there's no not a recognition of that. But there can be a sensitivity to it, that there's something not quite like, no matter what accolades I get in this area, or no matter how much money I make, or no matter how the relationship appears to be, or no matter, in every single area of their life, no matter all that, there's something that seems to, there can be huge sensitivity to that then.
Nothing is good enough.
Yeah, or that there's just something else, there's something else, that something else feeling maybe,
Yeah.
And that's, it's no better or worse than the man who's drinking in the pub every day, but that's just the way it appears to be.
But there probably are some people who never become a me.
Oh yeah, there's no rules. I mean, of course there are. Yeah, because there is no me anywhere. Anyway, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, there can be. Yeah, I imagine so.
I think that's why we love babies and very young children.
Yeah, the energy
they're
is
just so together. They're just so everywhere.
Yeah, it can be
and
stunning.
I think we kind of love that energy.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. Yeah,
and even if they're past the 2.5 or the 3, they're still not solid in the, me thing.
Well, they're untrammeled and they're just.
Yeah.
They fall over and they cut their knee, and it's like,
and then it's next.
It's not like kind of, oh, my knee, and I should really comport myself well because there are neighbours here who are watching me, and although my knee is sore, these are all the layers of being an adult.
Yeah.
We don't lose childhood wonder. We overlay it with adulthood.
Yeah.
We condition it to being an adult.
In that.
So that's it. It's not the perception is we've lost something. We haven't lost. Nothing's been lost. It's that it's overlaid with this sense of how to comport yourself in different situations, and it's just endlessly bum 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 bum. And the older you get, gets more and more complex. It's all a story.
Yeah.
Is it possible to intervene with a kid at some point?
No, and there's no need because there's nobody to intervene with. That would mean that there would be a real thing called individuality that can really be prevented. Again, you'd be into a story then, and who would intervene in anything? So it's what appears to happen then. So if there's, that's it. There would be nothing to intervene in it would be, first of all, it's real, and second of all, it's bad. And you're on a whole other thing then.
Yeah.
It seems like it's bad because it's suffering.
Yeah. It appears to be. Yeah.
To me, it seems to be bad.
So.
To animals as well, because dog, something like that, is like a child.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, animals don't seem to be self-conscious, but. And trauma is held much more in the body for the person, whereas trauma isn't held as much And you see that with animals, so the shaking of the body, they shake off the trauma, you know, and they don't.
Yeah, they get over them.
Yeah, but I mean, there is still always an echo of trauma.
Yeah.
In cellular and cellular, and still here when if the apparent person falls away, there's still an echo of there's still an energy of trauma that's still there, but it's not a problem anymore. Then.
No.
You know, what's your attitude to your body?
It's not my body.
What's going on with it though?
I
What's
have
it
no
floating
fucking
in
idea.
Is it floating in space?
Well, what would it be? Then it would be a thing floating in something else.
So
That's the whole problem. Then it's not anything. See, that's the whole thing, is that I have a body. Who has the body? I have a mind. Who has the mind? Like, it's ludicrous actually when you really think about it. You use your mind. Who the fuck is going to use their mind? Who's going to stand back and use their fucking mind? Who's separate to the mind to use the mind? Who's separate to the body? This story that we have, that there's something in there that's you, that has a hand, has an eyelash. Where is it?
What's the situation with the mind then?
There's no mind, there's no anything. There's just what appears to be happening.
Well,
body.
there's thinking going on, isn't there? Thoughts.
Yeah, but there's just
who cares
thoughts.
or whatever.
But who would there? There's nothing separate to any of them. Emotions arise, sounds arise. That's what appears to be happening.
No taking ownership for sure. Like listening to it and say, oh my God, that's really important.
But there's nobody even there to listen to it. It's just there's sounds then. There's nobody. But is actually what's there as well. Except that there may be a sense, like a veil, that there is somebody who has thoughts and there is something, and that's what appears to be happening then. And that's the suggestion that's being made here, is that that's artificial. That's an appearance. And that in actuality what's looked for is just this. It's not when you fall away, you're not there to fall away. It's just that anytime there's a sense of being separate, what's actually looked for is this. The person's not looking for this, because the person's just being a person. The individual is just being an individual. But what's being continually rejected is just, it's inescapable. It's the big joke. You can't, what has been yearned for had never left you, and could never be escaped from. There's only aliveness. So if they ran out the room and you're on the street, you can run down the street as fast as you can, you're still not going to escape aliveness. There's only just aliveness. And as you said, there was a coming to the meeting, and there was just this sense of, it doesn't fucking matter really. I mean, I'm late for the meeting. I may not find the meeting, because actually there's no meeting. That's the mad thing.
That thought didn't
There's
come.
there's no actual meeting. Absolutely, there's no. And walking down the street is the very same as, because there is only boundless energy. It can never not be. You can never step out of it. Oneness. It's not two, like.
Oneness, you see, we see that.
I don't like I always use the word oneness. I don't always use the word oneness, but I actually never liked the word oneness. Of all the spiritual, I know it's all as oneness, but oneness. Yeah.
It's like now.
What about allness?
No, I don't care about any word, to be honest with you. So I'd still say oneness. No issue with it. But it's just another word. Yeah.
And makes them into an object. Me latches on to all those words and makes them into an object.
I mean, the word, it doesn't really matter. It's energetic. Like this communication today is just energetic, really.
Sorry?
It's just energetic, really. It's not really concerned with the words, except that the words maybe can illuminate or kind of address the confusion a bit of the individual. That's all really. But really, other than that, it doesn't. It's an energetic sense of, this is it, or this isn't it. So energetically, it's a resonance with it, or a dissonance and an apparent moving away from it.
Does intuition sort of play more of a part
Intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, intuition is more of a overall body experience. It's more of a, it's less centered in the head.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would kind of touch on it a little bit, that their intuition does seem to kind of increase a bit more than, because there's no one relying on this center of the brain that runs everything. So it can be that sense of intuition is a bit more pronounced, yeah. I would even say just energy, like there's a kind of energetically kind of vibe of, it's more attuneness to that.
Yeah.
Like, so for instance, when this was first seen, and as I said, the Open Secret, I'd seen the Open Secret, and then I was listening to all these other lads and lassies, right? And energetically, within no time at all, obviously, there was very much like, okay, that's not the same as this. And I couldn't actually, there was a period of a few months where I couldn't figure out why it wasn't the same, because the words were so similar, I felt.
Yes.
Now, even looking at it now, the words actually aren't, they're quite different, but they can sound very, very similar. But energetically, it was very obvious that that communication was not the same as the Open Secret communication at all.
Yeah.
And then that, when that becomes, I've heard a lot of people talking about that. They thought there was all these people sharing these really clear, uncompromising communications, and they name all these people that, and then a year later, it's like, oh my God, it's like 5% of them were clear. But whatever was going on here, I thought that they were also clear. But that was energetically sensed, totally energetic, and totally and utterly impersonal. Because I really liked some of them people, actually. The characters. I really enjoyed the voices. I enjoyed the way the character was. But energetically, I just could see it. This isn't the same. This is actually feeding the individual. Somehow I couldn't figure it out, but it was all energy, total energy, and then boom, and then it was just, and then I could then intellectually even tell you why the difference or whatever. But that was, so I totally understand when people say to me, "Oh, I just get a different vibe off this guy," as opposed to what you're saying. And then it's like, yeah, it is energy. It is actually energetic, and when it's shared, it's the sharing of something without agenda, boundless. There's a kind of it's totally indescribable. There's just a boundlessness to it,
Relaxation.
which is also an edgy thing for the person, because it's not safe. Because the person lives in a safety bubble and wants to be safe. This is raw
Dangerous
and
stuff.
dangerous, because life is raw and dangerous, because it's full on aliveness. When you live like me, it doesn't. It's not raw and dangerous. It's raw and danger is out there, and I want safety and comfort, and I want noble, and I want protection of me. And that's the way the individual goes. It wants predictability. It wants routine. It wants noble. It wants to keep safe in the unknown. So what's looked for is actually and isn't noble or isn't safe and that's full on. Of course it's like that, because it's full on aliveness.
But it's not part of the individual who is wanting to burst out of the bubble. I know that.
No, the individual is just being an individual. It's not that it's part of an individual who wants to burst out of the bubble. It's that what you really are, even though I don't really like putting it like that, but what you really are is just already this, which totally fucking knows this already. Completely knows this, because you are already this. And that's what is just resonating with, well, it is just this. But the individual is just a loop of individualism. That's why there is no individual seen here, or recognised here, or is spoken to here. Because if there was an individual being spoken to, this would be a totally different communication. Completely different. It would have a totally different energy to it. And we would probably be using that flip chart over there, and we'd be trying to get somewhere. And you would also be going out of this room with something.
Well.
You would come here trying to get something, and I would give you something. It's actually very counterintuitive that you come to a meeting and there's nothing to get. And it's very, very strange for the individual. that there's nothing to get. So you mean to say, like, I'd have emails of like, well, if I miss the first morning, am I going to miss something that will I be able to take away? And I'd be laughing and go, you're not going to get anything on any morning.
Yeah.
And I have a funny feeling that you're going to be severely disappointed what I'm going to say to you. And actually, funny enough, the chap that sent that email, our page that sent that email, left after half an hour and got almost very, very irate.
Yeah.
And that's what was happening. Because there's no agenda for that not to be any other thing than what it is. And it's beautiful as it is.
Mm.
But this is just very ordinary what's being suggested. It's very, 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 and it's always been suggested. It's not that this is a meeting, it's suggesting it's only available in this meeting. Of course, it's just always singing. Everything is always singing. It's here, I'm here. You know, the leaves rustling, the buying the litre of milk. There's €5. There's your change. Thank you very much. That's it.
Yeah.
And there is this sense of the person. That invitation is always there, and it can just be seen at any. Of course, it can. There's nobody coming to this communication. There's nobody here at this. There is no meeting. There's nobody that will ever come back or not come back. There's nothing to get. There's nothing to learn. There's nothing to know.
Did you have
Put away a tea or coffee there.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not sure how hot it is now at this point. Did I have one?
Donald down here?
Yeah, he rang me, but I said, Donald, come on now.
He wanted to come to the
Yeah,
meeting.
Yeah, he wanted to come, and he said, can I book a place in the meeting? And I said, Donald, in all seriousness, no, I'm just not able for the drama of it.
Yeah.
He wanted to not be there anymore.
I'd say he really wants to be there. Maybe not. I don't know. That's
No, I said no presidents allowed.
Is Doonbeg around Lahinch?
It wouldn't be a million miles away, apparently.
Looks beautiful on TV, you know.
Oh, you know where the residential is just going to be in a beautiful spot. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
really?
Lahinch Beach is just. I think it's one of the
That's
nicest beaches in
Clare,
Ireland.
isn't it?
Lahinch.
Clare, yeah.
Isn't
So
it?
it's this just stunning beach. You've got an amazing golf course. Obviously, the Irish Open is there in a couple of weeks.
Oh.
You've got the Cliffs of Moher just up the road, a couple of kilometres. And it's Steinman is a couple of kilometres, beautiful little town, loads of little cafes, restaurants. So there's hiking, there's surfing, there's swimming, there's beach, there's the burn, going into the burn, there's the Cliffs of Moher. And I'm trying to sell my residential here, haven't I? No, it's nice. Yeah, it is a nice spot. So that'll be the idea is that
So
the
the
meeting in the morning. So we'll come on Wednesday. We'll have a meeting Wednesday evening, morning time, kick off around 10ish. Have a meeting till 1ish. Then people just have a free afternoon to do whatever because you're in the wild Atlantic Way, beautiful spot. A lot of people will be travelling from other countries, so it'd be great for them to go exploring. And then probably, as I was saying, a meeting before dinner and then a meeting into the evening after dinner. And obviously people don't have to people do whatever they want. If they want to come for the morning and then not come back, or they want to come in the evening, or there's no expectation of anybody and they can drop in and out of them. But that's what would be
Can
laid
you
on.
come just for a day?
Yeah, I'm going to figure out that I have to figure that out based on my room size, but there might be ability to just come for the day. Maybe
Or even
on a
just
Saturday.
come for one.
Yeah,
morning
exactly.
and
Yeah, maybe the
as opposed to stay overnight.
Saturday, or there will be probably.
Yeah, that would be.
I know there's one person who's coming from quite far away, and I think they, I'll be definitely. That'll probably be an option. Yeah. So that's the idea. Like in the I've done a few kind of 2 or 3 day things, and it's very interesting. It just tends to be more. You kind of start off at 100 miles an hour, and it's what about this and what about that, and then by the end it's just like a lot of kind of silence. I've worn everyone down.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of silence, and it's apparent silence, and it's lovely. Yeah, because it is really very much that there's just. It's not that there's an answer. It's that there's no longer a question.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Mm.
And that at the meeting, that can silences, apparent silences, can kind of appear to get bigger because there becomes less and less to say, really, because it's just so obviously just this, like, yeah.
But that obvious thing is not me's obvious.
No, nothing to do with me.
No.
And I'm just describing what can be.
Yeah.
You could be an individual getting more and more apparently reinforced as the days go by.
Mm-hmm.
But at least they could go and play a game of golf down in the Hinch or go for a week. These are some nice, a nice setting, and I have a few
So
drinks.
are the rooms single, double, or what?
Yeah, so that's what I'll be laid on is single accommodation, double accommodation, and twin accommodation. So if friends want to go, keep the costs down, share, it'll be a twin room, couples, double room, and then people on their own a single room. And then it should be quite reasonable, really. I'll figure it all out.
I'll be going for single anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I went to a residential with Tony Parsons years ago now in Wales. It was lovely. 4 women in a room. We had a ball. It was so.
Did you all share together? Did you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
One German.
I've heard about them. They're supposed to be lovely.
And then me,
Buckland Hall. Buckland Hall.
Yeah. I didn't like the food. Vegetarian.
Oh yeah.
Vegetarian.
Oh yeah. I don't think Tony is either. I don't know what that's about.
Which I suppose doesn't matter for a little while.
Yeah, whatever, yeah. No, I mean, I would like to put on something somewhere in a place that people come and stay there and maybe get catering in or get something in. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
There might be somewhere in
There
Wicklow.
must be some place.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're definitely. I'm going to try different things and see.
Yeah.
And see what people want as well. This is going to be. We'll do it this way first and see.
Yeah.
No doubt it'll be a resounding success.
Well, sure. It'll be what it'll be.
Exactly. I'm joking.
That is.
I'm joking. Yeah, of course.
Mm. No,
but there is an interest now. There's more of a. There's a huge interest, I feel, and I get emails every day now, and I can't keep up with emails anymore. In terms of questions, I used to answer questions, and I just can't do it anymore. What's that? My new website, I'm gonna have to put it up because I just can't. I can't do it anymore. So I won't be doing that. I'll probably giving a phone number actually that people can phone for free. And maybe do Skypes a bit as well. But I mean, the energy is in the meetings, to be honest with you.
Yes.
It's not in a one-to-one. It's not in a phone call. But it's nice to be able to phone, I think. But it's this energy when 2 or more gather in my blah blah blah. It is kind of to do with. It's not. How would I describe it? It's just this. It's just this energy, this kind of boundlessness can be. It's just more obvious in the meeting, in the gathering, and the spontaneity of someone saying whatever comes to mind. You see, and then an answer that comes out of nothing, and then an answer out of nothing, and there's a total resonance to it.
The answer is.
Yeah, it doesn't. No, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning.
I think it's a bit like going to a concert that you really like. Now I know it's different, but I think like the energy can be because there's all these people with enjoying this whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Or not enjoying it.
Or not enjoying it. But I think there can be a sharing of energy.
Yeah, it's not even a sharing of energy. But it's just it's energetic.
Yeah.
There's a certain energy. But not in the way that like people describe, oh, there's an energy, there's a special energy. It's
No.
blows special and
No.
not special out of the
No.
water, yeah. You know.
Yeah.
There's something there and something not there.
Be nice though to have residential in Ireland.
Yeah, I'll probably go for 4 years, I said, maybe there, and then early
Yeah.
a winter residential, maybe a shorter one, and then I'll go for a spring one. All depending on how the hinge works out, but I probably
Yeah.
will do Wicklow
Yeah.
as well. I think Wicklow will be handy.
That would be good,
And
yeah.
then I'm aiming to go to London in sometime this year.
Oh, what part of London?
I don't know yet, I haven't figured out.
There's a
I have
place
people
in-
who run meetings up, I have friends who run meetings in Leeds and Hebden Bridge, so we're kind of, might go for Hebden. I've spoken in Hebden Bridge and I enjoy that. So
Yes.
then either London, Hebden Bridge, or... So I have a few things on the cards
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
There's a place in Hampstead, Jim Newman and Andres Muller has been there. It's the Philadelphia Association.
Okay,
Yeah, and it's kind of, I don't know, I suppose it's kind of theosophical, maybe the building,
Okay.
theosophical.
yeah, I might look into it, yeah.
And it's
It's
nice.
just the
it has a good
population's so
space.
big, and it'd be great to get that
Yeah.
along in Amsterdam,
It's in Hampstead Village.
Hampstead. Yeah,
Yeah.
keep that in mind now.
And there's a nice little hotel I usually stay at when I go over there in Golders Green. And it's kind of just 2 stops from Hampstead. Very nice.
Yeah,
You going
There's
to do
not-
monthly meetings in Galway?
I will. Yeah. No, that was the whole email that never got sent out. Was I'm doing monthly meetings, and that it's going to be the second Saturday of the month, but something has actually come up in July that I'm going to have to move it. But from now to the end of the year, apart from July, it will be the second Saturday. Here, unless I get another venue.
Right. Yeah.
But I can't at the moment. It's just trying to keep the cost down as well, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
And if, but there will be Dublin. Will it suit you more? There'll be probably one Dublin in September. I'm thinking.
All right.
Yeah,
September.
and
I'll have to
then
find out if I'm going to be okay.
so I think I'm going to move it out in July. So it probably should be the 20th. Yeah, of July, and then aiming to do monthly. Yeah.
Right.
Because it's easy for me because it's just an afternoon
Mm.
and it's doable, and I like it's great.
Yeah.
And once it's like anything, once the things get up and running, and then. But I mean, for me, there's no actual. Obviously, there's an in loveness with what appears to be happening. So if one person potters along and we talk about nothing for a couple of hours, then that's what appears to be happening.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's stunning, actually. It's not a numbers game in terms of getting, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And then there's been meetings with 40, 50 people, and that's an energy as well. There is an energy.
Yeah.
When there's a
There's
bigger meeting,
bigger
there's a different energy because there's so much coming at you apparently. But it's hard to describe, yeah. But it's interesting, yeah. But it's just when it's shared. It's lovely.
There's a place it's kind of a community centre off Wexford Street, and I know Jim Newman was there in that. It's kind of a hall.
Okay, yeah.
What's it called? I can't remember. But it's very central.
Yeah, somewhere centre would be handy, yeah. Somewhere's in the apparent centre. Of nothing. But that's another way, as
were
I
down
said
in
there,
the-
that sense of being in love with what's happening, appearing to happen, that's kind of comes close enough to describing it, that when there's just a sense of whatever appears to be happening is it. And then there's kind of an in-loveness with that, even though that could be excruciatingly painful and discomfort. And it's impossible to understand, but as opposed to when you feel like a person, I kind of like this, and I like this, but I don't like that now, and I don't like that, and then I'm going to change this bit, and I'm going to, do you see what I'm saying? That's the difference. It's just, it's indescribable. There's no difference, and there's an indescribable difference. It's like doing a 360 degrees, so you come around, so 360, you're back exactly where you are, but it's the exact same, but it's indescribably different also.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's just nobody here. Which sounds like this big thing, but it's absolutely ordinary, and it is the case already for everyone. It is the case there already, but it's just that this sense that there is someone overlays that.
Yeah.
When you say that this is it, what do you mean by it?
I don't mean anything really. I mean, there is no, again, you're into the difficulty with words. There is no it. It's just, again, it's the finger, it's the Zen finger pointing at the moon. This is it, I guess, is that it's not anything other than what appears to be happening. Whereas when the individual feels like, I don't like what appears to be happening that much, I want it to be better. I kind of like this aspect, I like this aspect, I don't like this aspect, so I'm going to work at that. So what's better is around the corner, and I'm going to, through progressive endeavour, make it better. That's what I mean, I suppose, by this is it, that it's just, it's not, there is no corner, there is no around the next corner.
So like reality.
Well, you could, yeah, reality, but reality is a strange, like there is no reality either, because reality is just a word for the, you could say there's 7 billion realities. So whatever the person is, they take that to be, that's their reality. So but there is no reality. Reality is, Tony, the Open Secret, he talks about 2 realities. I like his use of that. I don't really do that, but he's the reality of the individual and the reality of there just being this. And so the communication is that discussing the 2 realities, 2 apparent realities. Yeah. But there is no reality. There is no reality. The reality for the person is their world. So in that sense, in the dream of my reality, there seems to be confirmed that there's a communal reality or a shared reality, but actually all there is that just that's a part of the individual's reality, and they're all just, every reality is totally unique, and it's all just a story. There's no reality. There's just what appears to be.
Because if there was a reality, it would be an object.
Or there'd be a truth as well.
Yeah.
There's a central truth. There's no central truth to anything.
So in other words, it would be fixed.
Yeah. Yeah, I need a bathroom break myself.
You don't talk about this only in meetings like this.
I don't talk about it, so it just appears to come up.
I know.
So no, but in answer to your question, it's the same then also. So in conversation, it appears to come up in conversation sometimes, but there's no agenda for it to come up. It could be talking about Liverpool winning the Champions League, or you could be talking about this is it, isn't it? There's no timer. There's just time as an appearance, and there's no preference for one or the other. It's just what appears to be. But I mean, kind of less and less maybe in the last part while that it would be spoken about outside of the meetings. But individually or one-to-one apparently it seems to come up a bit as well. So in that some questions would seem to come at me from certain doesn't matter though, usually not so much. It's not, it doesn't make for good pub conversation. No, Jesus, Mother God. It's fucking lead balloon stuff, like.
Yeah.
You know, so probably now more towards that would be like if there was a, you know, it's funny because people sitting around the group and well, what's it all about? But they kind of want a certain stock answer to that question. And in Ireland, I would say the conditioning of people in Ireland is, well, maybe there's no, you know, the church weren't great, like, and you know, there's a lot of bad things to them, but what's it all about? And what they really want you to say is, yeah, I think there might be a God, all right, but I don't like a lot of what the church did, but there's a lot of good stuff in the church as well, so we won't throw out the baby with the bathwater. That's kind of what they want, because that's the general thinking, is people are afraid actually to say, well, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in the church. They're terrified. It's conditioning. So if someone says, well, it's quite funny, because if there's a group and they're around and people say, well, what do you think of God? They don't want to actually hear, well, because I'd say, well, I think it's a Peter Pan story myself.
That's nice.
And then everyone kind of goes,
yeah.
There's kind of a, but sorry, I thought you just asked me my opinion there. Did you not want to hear it? So funny enough, yeah. Just often now it would be like, so what's it all about? I don't know. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what it's all about?
When I stay with my sister in Dublin, she asks me, where are you going? What is this meeting? What's it about? I said, it's something like meditation. That's what I'm saying. And then she doesn't, you know, ask me anymore. So
I was coming up with a friend of mine, 10 years ago we were going to an open secret meeting, and he was kind of new enough to it, and he was enjoying it, and then a friend rang him on the car and said, where are you going? And he was like, we're going to a meeting, and said, well, you know, it was Tony or whatever. And what's it about? It's kind of about life and stuff like that, you know. And he said, there was kind of a pause. I'll be fucking careful with that shit now. Oh my God, I was just in hysterics laughing. Like that was his toned down version of what he was going to, and even that was a bit dodgy. That's a bit dodgy now.
Yeah.
Be careful, we're going to them kinds of meetings
You
now.
could be carted off.
Yeah, you might never come back now. You might be wearing a...
Well, are Irish people a little bit behind the curve then on the whole advice thing?
No, I don't think so. No, I'm just describing the culture here, but there's an apparent culture everywhere, so there's no behind the curve. Like Advaita, for me, it's another religion. There's no such thing as non-duality either. So it's just another belief system that people get. Yeah. So if some people are behind the curve on it, I mean, that's also just a story. It's nonsense. Like mostly under the heading of Advaita Vedanta it's a religion really, and non-duality is also a religion in that it's a belief system that people take on, that they believe that they're not there, or they believe blah blah blah, mostly for the most part. So because there actually is no such thing as non-duality, it's just a term that's used. So I mean, it's just the way things appear to be. You can't be ahead of the curve or behind the curve really.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's like kind of when the whole Power Now thing exploded. I remember living with someone, and she had a friend around, and they started saying, "Oh, have you heard the Power Now?" They actually had an argument about who was more in the fucking moment. And I was kind of looking at the two of them going back and forth. It was like, "Oh yeah, but when did you read the book?" Oh, 6 months ago.
Between the two of them?
Yeah.
Between Eckhart Tolle and...
No, between the two of them. It's like
really?
It became like who's more in the now, because it was like, well, when did you read the book? 6 months ago. Oh, it must be 2 years ago I read it now. How many times did you read the book? I read it twice. Oh, I must have read it 10 times, I'd say. So it was, and I was very amused with this. I said, it's just another thing for the person, you see. And then what overtook that then, that was all the rage for a while, and then what overtook that was the mindfulness. I could see the mindfulness coming in, and I remember saying at the time years ago, this is going to be big. This one's going to be big, because it's the new kind of power now, living in the moment, and it's something we can do, and it's just so attractive to the person and seductive that, like, give me something to do. Love that so much. And this nonsense, utter nonsense of being in the moment or being mindfully aware. You know, and some people could do that and they feel calm, and brilliant. That's great. If you feel calm, knock yourself out. Keep going, you know. People think sometimes, well, why are you against mindfulness? And I'm like, did I ever say I was against anything? I'm just, there's an observance here and a comment on. So yeah,
But I think when me thinks something is good, they want all this support.
and they want verification of it too.
Yeah.
You're attacking the, if you're saying something about that and they're into that, then you're attacking them.
Yeah.
It's how, like, that's how people are. They have a, if they have a very, their story of me could be a very fixed paradigm of you know,
How to live.
of a way to live. And if you're saying something negative about them, like you see it in all sorts, if they're a political party or political views are such a way, they'll become very heated and argumentative, because really they're defending themselves, because that's part of their story and they're right, that they're liberal, that is the way to that is the way to run the world, and you're wrong, and that's part of their story, you know.
Yeah.
Or another person might give a hoot, go, oh, you could be right, yeah, conservative, or, you know what I'm saying.
But they don't
Yeah.
like that either if you don't give a hoot.
Well, no,
They want
that's a very good point.
definitive
Yeah.
Support.
Well, what you are then is they don't like that, because the game of being a person is you have to place everyone on for me or against me, and they're just, you have, if you're for me, it's just as useful to the person for them to be against you, because if you're against,
They can slot you in.
yeah, and they can rage against you too, and again continue to. And like you said, if you're nowhere at all, then you're fucking useless, aren't you? And people get very annoyed. Actually, you're right. Yeah, get very irate about that. You know,
Yeah.
well, have an opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, no.
because I can't find where can I position myself against you if you're like, well, I don't care, I have no opinion on it. Well, where does that leave me with you then?
Yeah, it kind of wrong foots them.
Yeah, it does a bit. Yeah.
You said that, like, you know, the character still expresses something.
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
like conservative or liberal, but when that arises, then what kind of attitude? I mean, I'm definitely going to vote Fianna Fáil or something.
Well, no, for here I can't say. No, I was just talking in general terms about the way people are or appear to be. But here there would be, all of that falls apart. Like, I mean, I'm not anything.
No, I
So-
don't even mean particularly in politics. I
Yeah.
wasn't really driving at that. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely got to be chocolate. I'm not taking vanilla. I'm sorry.
No, there's
That-
just the preferences of the character
Yeah.
are always there, and they continue to be there. So vanilla is
But that could translate to something controversial like politics.
no. What I'm saying is that there's all of the abstract stuff. If the person falls away, generally falls away with the person. So politics would be seen as it is. Politics is an abstract thing. Vanilla is the taste of vanilla in the senses.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
really.
So
That's
vanilla,
true.
I like vanilla, then the character still likes vanilla.
Yeah.
But the character supporting Fianna Fáil
Yeah.
and then the me falling away, there's no possible way the character can go on supporting Fianna Fáil when the story is being seen to be as it is, a complete
Because there's
fabrication.
so much story in that.
Because it's just
Fianna Fáil
it's seen to be totally unreal.
Right.
So there can be no energy in it anymore.
So there's more sort
whatsoever.
of reality to vanilla and chocolate. Sort of.
Yeah, no, it's just the other one is seen to be a story. So how can there be anyone to be in that or have any energy to drive it forward anymore? So that's what all
What
that
about more
stuff.
subtle things? For example, getting into a dispute with oneself or another person, or even just oneself. That Beethoven is better than Mozart, and that's
No, all of that, most of that would fall away as well, because there would be nobody to get into a dispute with themselves.
That's an artistic thing. That's
Yeah, but
doesn't
there would be
seem as
nobody to get
abstract.
into a dispute with themselves,
No.
because there would just be the thought that Beethoven is better than Mozart. That would only be a thought. Beethoven is better than
But
Mozart,
this is when you're.
and that's a thought. If there's nobody owning that thought, connecting to that thought, relating to it, or arguing the other side of it. Like, I mean,
Okay. But
So-
even as a level of preference, I mean, like.
there could still be a preference for Mozart over. That's the character, though. That's in the genetic makeup of the apparent individual. Is one that's in there from the very beginning. Is a flavour of what's liked or what's not liked, and that's just is as it is. It continues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or there could still be, like, there could be a passion. Oh, we'll say there's a passion for injustice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There could be a falling away of the person, and there could still be that passion, but it would change in the sense it could be seen that there's nobody actually doing something. But there could still be in a role of exposing the government of, you know,
Yeah.
Nicaragua for human rights abuses. Okay, so it's seen that there is nobody doing the human rights abuses, that it's just an energy, but there could still be an interest in challenging the apparent authority of people who are murdering people for expressing their opinion. I'm not saying that would totally go. It may not. But it would just seem to, the energy of it would change slightly, because it's hard to describe.
It must be.
It would be just seen that there's nobody doing anything. There's the apparent, everything is apparent.
There are no
but it
victims,
wouldn't necessarily
no
mean, it wouldn't necessarily mean that something would have to stop. There could still be,
compassion.
or say if there was charity work in an orphanage in Eastern Europe, and then there was suddenly nobody, then the apparent charity work could still interacting with apparent orphans and getting food out there, and that's what appears to be happening. But it's not just, it's hard to describe. It's just that's just what appears to be happening.
I'm always interested in health foods and health stuff like that. So that could remain.
Of course, absolutely. Why? It's not that it could remain. There's not. It's that's what's happening there. There's nobody.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a speaking there as if there's some time where that character, that persona might fall away.
See, I'm waiting.
How would it fall away? How would it fall away when it's not there?
I don't know.
See, there's only what is, right, as appears, and this is it. Like, so if some sensation comes, that's it. If a thought comes, well, this can't be it. That's it. There's nothing that isn't it. So what's there to wait for? I mean, it's the apparent individual that's waiting to not be an individual.
And there's no individual.
Exactly.
What was that you're saying before in your own case, so to speak, of that wavering back and forth? What was that like?
Nothing. I can't describe it. But it just seems that, if I was to describe it, it was like as if the yearning would kind of come, and the yearning for that wholeness that was glimpsed. But then you could say that it was just seen that the yearning was obviously it. It wasn't a resolution to any yearning. So when the yearning's it, well, then there's nothing that isn't it, and it's just obvious that there's nothing that isn't it. So it's not that there's an event. There's no event. It's drinking a cup of tea. You can't locate it in time and space because nothing actually happens. Whereas when you talk about an awakening or a kind of a boom, when it's seen, because the person appears to come back, it seems to be locatable in an experience, in a time, in an event. Whereas liberation, it's just nothing. It's obviously nothing happens.
And it becomes.
But that's the problem with that. All of that is that's only an appearance. That also is nothing that sounds like something that happened, and it's not.
So even when you were saying you feel a slight shifting back and forth, also while that was happening, you also thought, well, this is still it. So
there was a sense.
happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there was a sense that this is also it, and then at some point, then it was just seen that it was very much also it, and then there's no location then of anything. Then there's no location of an experience or a story or anything to tell anybody.
Yeah.
There's no at 5:00 then on the Tuesday. I was then no longer there. There's none of that because there's not. There is just is. There just only is whatever.
Just died off due to
It appeared to die off, but it didn't even happen either. But So.
And was that over a period of time?
No, again, it's a period. See,
An
this is the
apparent
problem.
period of
If
time.
I told you for 6 months there was that, and then that's just a story.
I
It's
know,
all
and the other thing
nonsense,
is, me grabs on to all
Yeah,
those
totally. Me grabs
things
onto it, you
and
saw it, and
waits
then
then
you.
for that.
And that's what happens a lot of the time is when it's been communicated, is that me is there constantly nibbling away, chipping away of give me something now, give me something here, give me something to take away.
Yeah.
And very much what's looked for when this is being communicated is tell me your story.
Absolutely.
And one of the first things that's looked for is how
And
did
then
this
it's
happen?
referring
Okay, first of all, it
back to
didn't happen. Because you see, if you can get a story of someone who says what they did, that will work for the person. Because if you did that, maybe I can do something similar, and something similar will happen to me. That's what it's. And the problem, the awful thing about this is nothing happened. So then It's and so if nothing happened, it's like that's the beginning, the middle, and the end of it. And anything I say about it or anybody says about it is just a narrative. It's a story. It's totally
But
fucking
me grabs on
pointless.
to every little
It's
thing
totally
that it can.
useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's of no significance whatsoever. But that's what is essentially happening. Is the individuals looking for similarities of now I know what you mean by that. That I can relate to that in certain things, and maybe if I boom, and it just goes. It wants to get its teeth into a story. It's very frustrating actually for people when you say, "Well, what happened?" Well, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Well, you were on a Vipassana. Well, I wasn't actually on a Vipassana retreat.
Yeah.
I didn't do a Vipassana retreat. But like you were meditating. No, I wasn't actually meditating. Like in
the body was
There was
what do
a
you
body
mean by that?
meditation.
when I'm saying is what the story here, people want the story to be
No, that I
real.
understand, but you said I wasn't on the Vipassana.
I wasn't. Nobody does anything. You're not here
No.
at this meeting. So nobody is anywhere. So I mean, the difficulty is with telling a narrative of something that's just a narrative of a story. That's not. It's only a story.
So you're not even making the concession that the body was on the Vipassana retreat in
I'm
December.
saying what I'm saying is that this is nothing appearing to happen. So when you describe it as something, the body was there. It's the same thing as like, well, the body Kenneth was there, and still something that appears to happen then, which is then the person wants it to be that way because it's linear and logical, and something happened. This is nothing appearing to happen. Nothing is of any significance. Or,
But our minds will never ever get that.
oh, not at all. No, it's ungettable.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
No.
Nobody gets it. If there's there's a few people now that are clear and uncompromising and appear to be the message there, and the one consistent thing you hear from them is that they don't know anything
Yes.
that you don't know,
Yeah.
and there's also there's a sense of hopelessness about the message. There's no need to offer anyone thing that's another commonality. That should be something that's quite obvious, really.
Yeah.
No, I don't even listen to many, to be honest. There's so many now, but and it's up to people sense what they sense out of it or whatever.
But you see, no matter how little me is fed, it grasps everything it can.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
Even the idea that there's nothing we could take away from this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't take anything away, and even I'm not here or whatever. I can't take anything.
Well, it's useless.
Yeah.
Because the person lives in a story of getting something that they can integrate into their lives.
To make it
This
better.
is saying that you don't have a life, you're not there.
Yeah.
It's the most useless communication for the person. It's utterly useless. Nothing that can be done with it.
Yeah.
You can't. Like I've met many people who've said, "Oh, I heard some of this communication and said, oh, in this area, what you said now has really very relevant to whatever area," and they really have got a very been disappointed with my response. Then I said, no, absolutely not. No, how would it be useful for that? And then they're looking. No, but I mean, what you're saying is, and we can. Well, once you start to use it for something, then it's totally missed the point.
So you can't even say that a oneness is speaking to oneness.
No, you can't. That's all the story.
Yeah.
There is only oneness.
Yeah.
There's only energy. Energy is a good one, isn't it? Because energy's
I think
little
energy
connotations
is,
to it, like. But again, they're all just words, really. I mean, it's all just pointing to something ineffable that can't be described. That's just immediately just.
Yeah.
Well, everything has energy, like trees, vegetation, animals.
Everything just is. Well, all there is energy.
Yeah.
It's not that everything.
Yeah.
All there is energy, and energy appears as form also.
As trees.
Like, so it's not that there's energy and then there's like people almost perceive that there's energy, this kind of energy in the body, and there's electricity and there's energy, and then there's things like chairs and buildings and stuff, but all they're looking at is energy. It's all energy actually, but it's just appearing in different forms, and that's when they talk about the formless and the form. The formless is the form, and the form is the formless. Death and life are one and the same.
Right.
Life and death are two separate things.
And when you say everything is energy, when physicists say the same thing, are they in any way saying the same thing you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what science is saying in quantum physics and all that is coming, is very much pointing at this, but then they're bamboozled as to what to do with it, because they're still in the realm of science that they want, somebody wants to measure something. So they don't know what to
But
do
they're
with it.
slightly talking.
Well, very much saying that there's nothing, yeah. I mean, if you look at quantum physics and a lot of the newer developments are, that there's nobody, there's no free will, there's nobody in there actually, and all there is just energy. Well, I mean, energy, like, that's one of the first things you learn, isn't it? Energy can't be created or destroyed, it's just...
It's just endlessly recombining in different patterns or whatever.
Energy humming as a phosphorescent light bulb, energy ticking as a clock, and energy going, it's all the same energy. Right. But as a person, you feel, well, I'm here in a light bulb, I'm here in a clock, that's a clock, and it's over there, and that's a light bulb, it's over there, and I'm hearing all of these things. There's a me there. Where is this me? It's not there.
Well, it's just a feeling. So there is a there-ness to it, which is a feeling. That the feeling is me.
From the perspective of the person.
Yeah.
There is definitely a me. From the perspective of the person, there's a me.
Maybe a feeling, I think.
Well, it depends. The sense of me though is unique to every apparent person, but it's unquestioned. It's just so.
Well,
it appears so real.
Yeah.
It appears absolutely real, totally. Yeah.
It does. But I mean, it's right here.
It appears to be.
The feeling of me.
Yeah,
so
what's rising there is that.
That's right.
Yeah, and it appears to be real. Yeah. Totally.
It's like it's actually, when you say all there is energy, this meanness is part of that from my point of view.
Yeah.
It's in the universe you're referring to, and it's the pulsation of me.
Yeah. So that's what's happening there then. Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
No, it's not unfortunate. It's what appears to be happening.
Well,
again, I'm back to the other thing.
You know.
There's no right or wrong with this.
Well,
there is only what appears to be happening. So
but belief in that generates suffering.
Apparently, yeah.
It does.
Oh, it's been a lovely afternoon. Do you like an orange?
No, thank you.
So no matter what appears to arise, it can't be escaped. It's only ever this.
You have to pay for your sins.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Very enjoyable. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very nice.